But a good skipper is somebody who really knows and understands the wind and knows how to work their way through the wind and knows how to be able to, tack and jive and do all those things that you can be able to get your way through the wind. Hi, this is Anita from the Dusty Roads podcast. The Dusty Roads podcast is all about living your life as a global citizen. And in doing that, we touch upon some aspects of living your life as a global citizen. And one thing that I enjoy talking about is sailing. If any of you have been listening, you realize that recently I've taken up sailing. It's been something that I enjoy. And also it's a great way to be able to maybe see and explore some of the world. One of the things that a lot of people have asked or they want to know, like maybe you're going to go to some part of the world and you want to be able to, hire a sailboat and do some sailing. And you might think, well, do I really need to have an experience to sail or skipper a sailboat? The answer to that question is yes, you should have experience. Sailboat is like learning to drive a car. There's many rules in the water. And just like you need to know the rules of the road, you also need to know about the rules of the water. Or, do you want to go to a surgeon that operates on you but has no training or no experience? Of course. We say, of course not. No, we want to have a surgeon that has some experience. Well, same thing with being a skipper on a sailboat. Of course, you could be a crew on a sailboat without, having experience, but actually be the skipper on a sailboat, you should have experience. And there's many reasons why that is important, because the skipper is like the driver or the main person on the sailboat. And a skipper is somebody who should be responsible for the safety of the entire crew and of the boat itself. A few things that you need to really know and understand to even be a skipper. First one would be how to safely rig the sailboat. If you don't know how to get the sails up, if you don't understand how to rig the sailboat, you don't understand how to get the sailboat out of the harbor safely, you're already in trouble. Because, you really need to be able to understand all of these things in order to be able to skipper the boat. Because as a skipper, you will be the person that's going to have to direct and tell other people what they need to do. And you need to understand these things. Even something as simple as if you have a line that's dragging on the back of a boat, and you may get out there in the water, especially like for those of us that sail on Lake Michigan. And, there's a lot of fishing out there. And sometimes the fishermen lay the traps. And if you've got a line that's dragging and sometimes your line could get stuck in one of these traps, you could end up in trouble. And this could be very dangerous for you and for your crew. You also need to know and understand how you're going to get your boat in and out of the harbor safely. For most people that are out sailing, once you're out there and you're in the water, if you're not close to other people, it's kind of hard to crash into them. You could actually, sit out there and not have any wind and just sort of sit out there. And if you're not near anybody, you're not going to hurt anybody. You're not going to hurt yourself. And, you're probably not going to tip over the boat either, especially if you're in a keel sailboat. So, once you're out there, it's relatively, safe out there. You can pretty much sit out there and not crash into anybody and try to figure out how to get back to shore. But when you are sailing a boat in and out of the harbor, especially if you are sailing a boat that does not have a motor attached to it, this is where you can get into trouble. There are usually many boats that are on the mooring, out there in the harbor. And if you don't know how to get past them safely, you could start crashing into boats and you could start causing some very serious damage. And not only to the boat, but also, you could, something could happen with the crew and other things. And it could end up just being a very, very messy experience for everyone if you start crashing into sailboats in the harbor area. A lot of harbors can have a lot of traffic. And so really it's the role of the skipper to be able to understand the rules of that harbor and to ensure who has the right of way and to understand what the rules are of that traffic in the harbor. As a skipper too, you need to also understand the wind. If you don't really understand the wind and you're out there trying to sail, you're going to have a problem. You're probably not going to go anywhere, first of all. So you're really not going to be out sailing It's going to be more like you're going to kind of be sitting out there on the water and hoping that someone will be able to bring you in, or somehow the wind direction will change to be able to bring you in. But a good skipper is somebody who really knows and understands the wind and knows how to work their way through the wind, and knows how to be able to, tack and jive and do all those things that you can be able to get your way through the wind. And that, sort of brings me to the next point. You need to understand how to safely do a tack and a jive, and especially a jive, because a jive can actually be, because the wind is coming from behind you when you do a jive. So it can actually be quite a forceful maneuver. And if you don't understand this, you don't understand to tell the crew, to be able to sit down, you can end up knocking somebody off the boat and seriously hurting them if you don't do it correctly. As a skipper, you need to really be able to give good directions to the crew, because if you're not giving good directions to the crew, then you're already in trouble. That really, this becomes a problem, for the crew and for yourself, essentially. So if you're really looking to say, like, I want to go to the Philippines, and I want to skipper a sailboat, and I want to go sail from island to island, which actually would be a fabulous thing to do, because, the Philippines really is a wonderful place to sail. They've got some, great, warm water there. They've got some great winds there. But there again, you need to understand how to be able to get to the islands. You need to understand the rules of the road. And you need to understand the safety of the boat itself and the crew that you have. Because the role of a skipper is an essential role. So a very good skipper is someone who understands all of this and has done all the training to ensure that they're able to safely get the boat from point A to point B, and they're able to safely look after the crew. Also, as a skipper, you have to be a team player. You have to know how to give proper direction to your crew. If you don't give the right direction, then your crew's going to have a problem too. That's why the role of a skipper is so essential. So, when somebody was asking the question, can I skipper a sailboat without experience? The answer definitely is no, that you should have the experience and the training that you need in order to skipper the sailboat. Now, is somebody going to ask you and say, do you have your skipper's license? No, they're not. In order to sail a sailboat, you don't have to show a skipper's license. You don't have to show that you even have any type of formal training. There are many very good sailors out there that have never had any formal training who are able to skipper a sailboat, but they also have had what we call in sailing tiller time, meaning they have been on the boat a lot, that they understand the wind, they know how to get the boat safely in and out of the harbor, they know how to rig the boat up, and they understand everything about the safety of the boat. Because one of the things that you really need to understand is, if you suddenly have a crew overboard and you're out there, you need to know, how am I going to get that person back on the boat? And when we're out sailing with the Milwaukee Community Sailing Center, that's one of the maneuvers that we tend to practice quite a bit, is we practice man overboard. We don't, of course, actually throw somebody overboard. We throw a buoy in the water, and then we do the maneuvers of, exactly how do you get back to, how do you sail back safely back to that person so that you can be able to pick up the buoy or pick up that person and get them back on board. These are all the safety type of things that a skipper should understand. Another thing they should understand is about, especially if you're in a harbor that has a lot of traffic, is the radio. Like understanding the radio on the water is a whole other type of skill that a good skipper should understand in case the storm's coming in, or in case there's something else that's happening, in case some big ship's coming by. All of those things usually will be, said over the radio. So a skipper should have a radio or have a way that they can be contacted in case there is something that they need to know. We love sailing. We think sailing is a great sport for everyone to learn. It's a great exercise to be able to do. And it really is just a fun thing to be able to get out there on the water and to sail a boat. But if you really are serious about sailing, please, look up and take some classes and learn to sail, and then you can become a skipper of a boat. This is Anita from the Dusty Roads podcast, where it's all about living your life as a global citizen We'd love to have you be part of our community. If you like our podcast, give us a thumbs up. Tell others about us. And we'd like to thank those who helped to put this together, especially Rico for his help. And also take some time, if you want to, check out our blog, A Bus on a Dusty Road, where it's all about living life as a global citizen. Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate you, our listeners.